Good morning. Happy March. We're on the other side of the eclipse, and you can see I'm a little tired. I had some women over last night for dinner, and we stayed up and talked for a long, long time, and it was more than fun. Let me just put it that way. It was more than fun. Okay, so the topic today is accelerated symptoms. And the reason I'm calling it that is because we're amping up step by step. And we're noticing that things are getting more challenging, but there aren't as many explanations as to why that might be. So let's just go to what we already know and what we've been doing, which let's do a solar flare check-in. And then I'm going to build a scenario for you and give you some tips. Okay. So make sure that you like and share this and pass it around if it's been helpful for you. If you found that what I'm presenting is helping you understand what's going on. Okay, so first and foremost, we've had some very, very mild flares. We're hanging out at the highest in a C8, at the lowest at, or I mean, excuse me, the highest C is a C8, and we're in this range right here, which is a low M1. So when we look at it, it sort of looks like, we're hanging out at this sea level, and occasionally there's this bump, which is an M1. So C's are tap, tap, tap. M's are like tower moments, and they're like kind of like, go, do something. And then it goes back to normal. And it's even been dropping at different times, not in the last day or two, down to the B level, which to me is just like very odd. That's what I would say. It's not right or wrong. It's just odd to have us heading towards the peak in solar flares and to have this B range flares. And we've talked about that. So combine this with Thursday and Friday's lunar eclipse. Now, whether you follow astrology, whether you follow the moon, all of us can say like Thursday afternoon, Thursday night, Friday all day, Friday night, Saturday morning, maybe all day yesterday, we were sort of like, what is happening? I can't stay awake. I have all these digestive issues. And what we aren't really paying attention to, if you don't track the eclipse season, where the moon is, what the moon is aligned with, how powerful the moon can affect our water in our body and our flow, means that we kind of tipped a little bit. And if you understand eclipses, they happen in twos. So a lunar eclipse comes first, and then 2 weeks later is the solar eclipse. So we're in that bridge, that gap between these two. So we were really rattled with this moon eclipse, full moon eclipse. I got to get up. I got up at 1 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, and it was orange, just sitting up there in the sky. And it had been cloudy all night, so I didn't even think. And it was beautiful. And we have a partial solar eclipse on the 29th on our new moon. So we're in that in between. And it's almost like in Stranger Things, we're in the upside down world. We could make a lot of analogies as to what is going on, right? And I started to use the sacred rebels. This is the time when we want to restore and replenish. Do not beat yourself up if you need naps, if you want to go to bed early, if you can't get up in the morning and you're just exhausted. There's a reason for it, right? Because we're in this liminal float of bizarre energies between these two eclipses. And we also have the spring equinox and the fall equinox, if you're in the southern hemisphere, on the 20th at like 3:01 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. So we're in it. We're in a lot of things that are happening right now. So let's talk about some of these accelerated symptoms, right? Because outside of needing sleep, wow, we are I like this one, going against the grain. What we are doing is not normal. We are pushing against something that is really, really affecting our empathic skills. She feels, she knows, right? And then this one, which is I love, what are you really feeling? Like there's the moon, there's this eclipse, there's all of these things. And I love this picture, like what is all of this, right? Okay, So let's go to the symptoms. I got this list from a culmination of Pam Youngin's post late last night and the 75 comments that came after it, plus some pieces from Alexander Quinn and some other things. So I've been putting together this list, right? Because to me, this list is curious because it's not traceable by these flares. We aren't being knocked off kilter by the flares, right? So again, we're having heart heaviness in our heart palpitations. We're having digestive issues, whether it's the lack of appetite or the insatiable desire to eat, the bloating, the what else goes with digestion? Just that nausea, right? Um, there's a weakness, like I'm fatigued. I can't get up. I'm noticing that certain parts of my body that have been sore off and on throughout the year are really sore right now, like my left hip, my lower back. There's this malaise, like I don't know what to do. I don't feel good, and I have two daughters that are pregnant, and this is sort of what reminds me of, like, when you're in your ninth month and you're birthing something brand new. This is that Empress energy. It's like, I'm tired. All of my cells are going towards restabilizing this body, and it's not working very well, and I'm exhausted, or it's working but I don't feel good, right? So we're sleeping and we're resting a lot. Our blood pressure is going up and down, and we're feeling the the reactivity of the geomagnetic, all these little earthquakes, all these little minor flares, all this energy that's sort of fluctuating. It's affecting our blood pressure. Our nervous system is being highly activated. So again, what I want to do first and foremost is validate that what you're feeling is absolutely spot on by design. We are in enormous changes, and that the reason that this is curious is that there's some other things going on, right? So I'm going to go to what Alexander Quinn posted. I think it was this morning. Uh, he's British, so it would have been, I read it about an hour before I came online, right? That, what we know when these flares hit is that they impact our light codes. What they do is they hit us on a cellular level, and we have a reactivity in our body. So whether it's steady and at a C, or whether it has a little bit of spikes, or whether it goes up or down, what we've covered over the last 2 years is that whenever some activity in the sun, when these light codes come in, they send a frequency that inundates our earth, our bodies, our cellular. All sentient beings are being affected by this. So this energetic frequency, this vibration is invisible, right? Yet we know that we feel it. We know that we can feel something going on. So we're harnessing this sun, and we're feeling something, and we're like, what is that? I don't understand that. And what we're noticing is something like the Schumann resonance is all over the place. It's having blackouts. The lines, which are usually going up and down, are going sideways. There's a lot of red spikes in there. And I've read the Schumann for off and on for the last 4 or 5 years. And it's interesting that it's sort of freaking out, right? And our bodies are sort of freaking out. So beyond, what's happening is the frequencies are coming in that are beyond our ability to measure them within the technology that we've created over the last 100 years, if it makes sense. This old paradigm of measuring solar emissions and geomagnetic activity and electromagnetic storms and the Schumann are no longer working. That's the best way I would say it. They're tapped out, they're misfunctioning. There's gaps. And what's happening is it's indicative of our full human experience, which is we have a lot of new things coming in, and we're just shocked. And our systems can't measure them or can't deal with them because they've gone from what I'm going to say a linear physics 3D based measurement system of calculating, of grabbing when the magnetic earth does this, we know that. When it does this, we know that. Now it's going boom, boom, boom. And we're like, it's not measuring well, and we don't know how to measure it the way that we used to. So when we look at this and we move the analogy over to whether you can measure the Schumann resonance, whether you can measure the geomagnetic, whether the vibrations of what did I hear that there were 75 minor um, earthquakes constantly going on, and then there's a couple of big mountains that they're starting to watch because there's been some more seismic activity. So what's happening is what we have created, what we've held in place for centuries, even millennia, of how we hold and measure whether we're on course or off course, whether our structures that say, I can read this and I can get the data, whether it's stock market numbers, whether it's bank account, whether it's solar flare reactivity, whether it's weight on the scale. All of these things are showing us that we're sort of outgrowing it. So what I'm going to say, it's going to go back to what we've talked about before. It's going to look at family. It's going to look at relationships. It's going to look at religion. It's going to look at our education, financial, our science, our political. And so it's happening on a big level. Big changes are happening, right? And it's also happening on a this shock of the new. It's happening on a big level. It's also happening in our bodies, which makes sense. It's kind of like as within, so without, as above, so below. So we're experiencing this bold new vision coming in, right? We're experiencing an awakening within our energetic system that is taking the existing structures and crumbling them. So we're going to see the news where they're 50% cut down on this, shut down on this, or cut back on government spending. We're going to see changes right and left. And it's this expansion where the most important thing we can do is go to our inner trust, right? Because on a personal level, we're feeling the same ramifications of what's going on our external. So when the external is starting to move around and fluctuate, we're noticing the symptoms are fluctuating and everything is accelerating because we're reconfiguring, right? We're reconfiguring something that has exceeded. What is it? It exceeded our thresholds. So what all of this new growth, all of this new experience is just showing us that we've outgrown the areas that we have become very accustomed to, including what we know our bodies can do and can't do. So we're feeling the limits of the old systems. We're witnessing them busting, collapsing, rapidly changing. We're witnessing within our bodies, right? um, the reconfiguration. What if the heart is adjusting? What if our digestion is letting us know that those same foods don't work anymore? What if our sleep patterns are like, 40 hours a week, work week isn't sustainable anymore within these new frequencies? And we're going like, well, how do I do this? Because now we've gone from very structured, measurable, systematic approaches to life to an expanding, multi-layered, multi-dimensional fields. And we're just like, I don't know what to do with them. So that makes sense. So I've got 6 tips for you. And before I go into the tips, what I want to do is invite you, number one, to come over to Patreon, because I post all these things on the Patreon membership site. For $11 a month, you can also join our conversation, our discussion group, or you can just interact with everybody on there and read where am I getting all of these? What are my sources like? And ask questions and interact with each of us. The second thing is that I had a new change kind of show up. I've had 3 clients in the last week that booked sight unseen, didn't know who I was, and said, and when I met them, they were like beautiful beings who were really on task. And it was kind of like, so can I throw a couple things out there in front of you, and can you help me weave them together and put them in a different perspective and a different meaning? So whether you book an individual session with me or a tarot reading and we do it through the cards, if I can help, please let me. Please invite me to come help you. Okay. Let's go to the tips. Number 1, we're going to have to develop our intuitive skills even more, because our intuition is an energetic frequency. It's based on vibration. It's based on how our body reacts. We need to develop our trust in that, right? That what you're seeing, reading, feeling is happening, and you want to partner with it, right? You want to partner with it and go like, okay, That is actually exactly what I'm feeling. So, for example, when I went to the coffee shop all Thursday, Friday, Saturday, what I noticed was there was some cranky behavior, much crankier than normal. Some people who were very um, hunched over and in some sort of an internal storm, and also some people who were just bubbling to the surface with some energy, especially the young ones. They were so happy, and the parents were just looking at them like sideways, like, I don't even know what to do with all this energy. It was very interesting because our bodies are telling us what's happening, and we want to listen to that, and our intuition is one of the ways that our bodies tells us that. Number one. Number two, observe and perceive the vibrational or the vibratory, either way, shifts, right? So expand what you're noticing. Expand when people act a different way. Expand when you notice, like right now, it's snowing after we've had probably 14 days of 45 to 55-degree weather. I've got 2 inches of snow outside and it's still snowing, right? So there's going to be these synchronicities, there's going to be these patterns, there's going to be these big shifts. And so one of the dialogues is like, well, this is new, and then that just happened, or this is, and you put something positive, a spin on it. I've never seen that before. I'm really wondering what that is, right? So we want to seek out areas of change and expansions and shifts, and we want to do it by our perception. We want to use that, both our third eye and our full observer, our owl, right? I'm like, pay attention to everything that's going on. Number three, we want to shift out of the fear of destruction into the growth and new opportunities. Instead of focusing on never going to have the body I used to have, we want to go, well, what's this new one going? What's this new world going to tell us, right? Because I'm changing rapidly. So the example I would use is that, toddlers or small children, they grow really fast. And you buy some clothes, whether it's shoes, whether it's pants, whether it's shirts, pajamas, and all of a sudden they're busting out of it. Now, we as parents watch things start to get a little tight or a little short in the legs, or their toes start to get a little pinched, so the shoes are harder to get on. So do when that busting out is happening, do you force them to stay in that and say, just stop growing, stop changing, and keep wearing those clothes because I'm not going to buy you any new ones? Or do you, and I'm not saying that to be cruel. It's kind of like, no, you're trying to stop the growth, and that may not be possible. So what you do is you partner with it, and you're like, wow, look at how much you're growing. What are your feet size? What is the size of your feet now? We're going to move from 4Ts to 5Ts, or you're in big girl or big boy clothes now, and we keep adjusting and growing with it, but we don't understand that our field and our energy does the same thing, right? So let's be really kind and say, oh, I just sort of outgrew that one. And you know, number four, we're in extreme times of physical, national, global, and energetic expansion. So the old has to come down in order for the new to emerge. So, do you want to be this gentle dismantler, which is like, oh, wow, look at that crumble. Oh, and then that's going down and that's going down. Because what we're realizing is things like our younger children are flat out refusing to participate in school, although they love the social component of it. And you're like, whoa, am I the gentle dismantler, or am I the excited creator? And maybe the not so gentle dismantler. I'm sometimes a gentle dismantler, sometimes I'm the ruthless dismantler. Because I'm a perennial gardener, right? And it's like, oh, I know exactly what I need this yard to grow into, and that's not going to work. So are you a dismantler or are you a creator? And what do you want to be called to right now? So as we're going through these physical changes, are you a dismantler or a creator? Number five, love what you outgrew. Love it. Love our bodies. Love our known and unknown, like physical systems, our technologies, our ways of governing, and just kind of our relationships. Our relationships are going to shake and rattle, and we're pulling apart. relationships that were based on falsehood, relationship that was based on dependency or ease or safety, and we're sort of busting that open and going towards work, friends, partners that hold this expanded version of yourself, because that's the most important thing. I mean, I want to be with somebody who sees the wisdom and the growth of where I'm going, not someone who says, get back in that box. It makes me uncomfortable, right? And number six, have compassion. Wow. We're here to witness, to guide, to create through these changes, right? We are here. Sometimes it's painful. Sometimes it's really, really hard. And sometimes it's really fun. So the compassion is everybody's at their own stage, and we have to have compassion for ourselves and compassion for others, because we've got this. Just remember this, we've got this. So if this has been helpful, please like and share it, and come join us on Patreon, or come book a session with me, or I will see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.